there, Dober fantasy players and fantasy football fans. The 2018 NFL AFC Championship game is almost upon us. Sunday, January 21st, the Jacksonville Jaguars will try to upset the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Here are the Jaguars players we think could be this week's sleepers and beat their fantasy point totals on Dober fantasy play cards for Sunday's game. Marqise Lee had a tough week against Pittsburgh. He was targeted 6 times and only caught 3 passes for 28 yards. Bortles was all over the place when he was throwing the ball in his direction, but we have to think that at some point, Jacksonville's top receiver is going to come through in a big way. Lee had a few huge games this season, notably when he had 7 receptions for 86 yards and a touchdown against Indianapolis in Week 15. History suggests that Lee is a man to fade in this game. He only caught a total of 7 passes for 132 yards in 2 games against playoff teams since September, and has just 3 catches for 28 yards in 2 postseason games. Still, though, we have high hopes for him going forward, especially if the Patriots force Bortles to put the ball in the air more often than not. TJ Yeldon has quietly had an incredibly productive season for the Jaguars. He only had his hands on the ball last week 8 times, but he turned those 8 touches into 77 yards with a touchdown. Leonard Fournette has been used and abused over the course of the last several weeks. He's Jacksonville's workhorse, and at times he's the only man who has a pulse in this offense. Still, Fournette is not going to be doing it all by himself against New England, and if the Jaguars are playing from behind, that could mean more snaps for Yeldon and fewer for Fournette. The fact that Yeldon only has a projected fantasy point total of 5.5 seems a bit insulting. He's tallied at least 7.2 Dober fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. Marqise Lee didn't catch a single pass last week in Pittsburgh, but he's still an asset in the short passing game. He only caught 24 balls this year, but Lewis also had 5 touchdowns, including 3 against Baltimore in Week 3. The fact of the matter is that this makes Lewis a dangerous play in the AFC Championship game. It's possible the only way he beats this projected fantasy points total is if he scores a touchdown. Still, this game figures to be more of a shootout than what Jacksonville is used to playing, and Leonard Fournette isn't going to have 3 rushing touchdowns in this game the same way that he did against the Steelers last week.